So you might ask then, well, what is the significance of shooting different amounts of photons at a metal? Is there any significance at all, for example, in the number of photons that are hitting the metal or being absorbed by the metal? And there is a relationship here, and that is that the number of photons absorbed by the metal are related to the number of electrons ejected from the metal. So in this figure here, what I'm actually showing is these little sunshines, which let's say are each one individual photon. So we have 6 photons going in. So the maximum number of electrons that we're going to have coming out is also 6, because the maximum scenario that we could have that would maximize the number of electrons is that each one of those photons comes in, excites an electron, ejects it from the surface of the metal. It's important to note, of course, though, it's not just the number. It's really important that the energy of each one of these individual photons is, of course, greater than the work function of the metal. So that's, in fact, it's that number of photons that we're talking about when we refer to the intensity of light. And the intensity of light is proportional to that number, because when we talk about intensity, really we're talking about the amount of energy that a stream of particles, a stream of photons has per second. So if we have a high intensity, we're talking about having more photons per second. And it's important to know also what that does not mean. So it does not mean that we have more energy per photon. This is a really important difference. Intensity, if we increase the intensity, we're not increasing the energy in each photon. We're just increasing the number of photons that we're shooting out of our laser or whatever our light source is. And when we talk about intensity in terms of units, we usually talk about watts. So if you change your light bulb, usually you see the intensity in terms of watts. But in terms of SI units, which become much more useful if you're actually trying to use intensity in a problem and cancel out your units, we're just talking about joules per second is what intensity is.